Would you like to be more connected and informed about your community? If so, it's time to find out who's doing what around town with Moot Point. Moot Point is a local podcast that covers the issues and topics that are relevant to all residents in Albion, Maine. Moot Point is a production of The Moo at moo202.org. And now, here's the host of Moot Point, Brad Taylor.
Well, welcome to another edition of Moot Point. I'm Brad Taylor, and I'm not only the host of this podcast, but I'm also the pastor of the Albion Christian Church. Well, today I'm especially looking forward to learning about the Albion Queens Contest, in part because I don't have any daughters and I've never actually attended, so I know nothing. The perfect place for an interviewer to be, not knowing anything. My guest is Joanna Clark, one of the co-organizers of this annual event, and so let's get right to it. Well, I would like to thank you, Joanna, for joining me for this conversation about the Queen's Contest here on Moot Point and giving your time for that. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
So it's called the Queen's Contest, but then you mentioned something about a doll carriage thing. Is that actually part of the Queen's Contest, or is that something separate?
It is actually part of the Queen's Contest. We actually have broken it down, so it's actually the Queen and Princess Contest, along with the doll carriage. The doll carriage is for ages 3 to 6, so the little guys can get involved, as well as we've broken down to the princess, be ages 7 to 9, and then the queens are 10 to 12.
Okay. Now, I know there are some people who keep thinking of this as like a beauty contest or something like that, and then I hear absolutely it's not. So what exactly is it if it's not that? Which most people...
We don't like to think of it as a beauty contest because we don't require the big fancy everything. There is a talent portion of it. There is a speaking portion of it. And that's really only two big aspects. They do an introduction, either dance or singing. I believe we are doing a dance this year. It varies from year to year depending on the theme. And so they'll do that all as a group. And then each individually will be judged on an interview, which consists of they come up with like a biography, tells about themselves, just so that the judges can see how they hold themselves within an interview. And they do wear a dress. However, the dress is not fancy dress. It's a nice, something you would wear to church dress. It's certainly not asking people to go out and get this big fancy, like the shows on TV. So we don't like to think of it as a beauty contest. We're certainly not judging them on their beauty. It's more on how they pose themselves, what they do for a talent, how prepared are they for this talent, how prepared are they for this speaking, like their eye contact. So it is kind of like a beauty pageant, but it's not a beauty pageant.
Okay. So that's good. Thank you for filling me in on that. What is the actual day of the Queen's Contest this year?
The actual date of the Queen's Contest is July 26th. It's the last Thursday of the month at 6:30 right at the Albion Elementary School.
Okay. And when can people start registering for this?
We actually need to have them registering now. From now until, I believe, the end of next week. Our first rehearsal is on the 11th, and we need to be prepared and know about how many contestants. That's just for the princess and queens. If it's doll carriage that you want to sign up for, we actually need you to just send us an email, and they're only required to be at the rehearsal, which is on the 25th.
Okay. So how many rehearsals did you say there were for the Queen and Princess Contest?
There's actually 4 rehearsals, and you are required for all of them. You can miss one and one only. Okay. And the dates for those are July 11th, 16th, 18th, and the 25th, and they're all held at 6:30 right up at the Albion Elementary School gym.
Okay, very good. Now, who can register for this? Who's qualified? Is it people who live in Albion only, or if you came from Schenectady, New York, could you register?
That's actually a big question. And I say that because in the past, it's always been you have to have lived in Albion or attended Albion Elementary. This year we've chosen, because the numbers are dwindling, we've chosen to open it up to anybody who has a connection to Albion, such as a parent grew up in Albion, a grandparent lives in Albion, an aunt, an uncle lives in Albion, and they want to participate. We're trying to gain more numbers because we're dwindling.
Right. Yeah, I can understand. The world changes, and we kind of have to change with it. I get that. Now, how did you get involved? Did you grow up in Albion?
I did not.
You did not grow up.
My husband did, but I did not.
Okay. So you did not get to compete as a child.
I did not. I actually got involved years ago when other people were taking it, and they've asked me to be a judge. And now that I have my own daughter, when she became of age, she did all of the years for doll carriage on up through now. So she has 2-3 more years, I believe.
Uh-huh.
So I got involved, big, high time involved when she became of age. But
Right.
I had my view of it as a judge years ago when I was asked to be a judge.
Okay. What year were you asked to be a judge the first time?
Oh, gosh.
1862 or?
Yeah, no, I'm not that quite.
Not quite that far long
I would
ago.
have to say probably back in 2006, 2007.
Oh, wow. So you've been involved really for a long time.
Yeah, not highly involved, but highly, like helping plan it and get things together probably since, let's see, Lillian is 10. So when she became the doll carriage age, I was actually helping Sue Stevens. I jumped on board and helped her, and then we've handed it on over to Alyssa Corson, who's heading it, and she's asked me to help her.
Okay. So now I remember, Sue Stevens was involved in Field Day as well for
Yes.
planning that at one time. So who's actually involved in making the Queen's Contest happen this year?
Alyssa and I are heading it together. As far as getting other help, we've had some volunteers that say that, if we need anything, come see us. We haven't reached out to them yet. It is a possibility. And the only other people that are involved are the 3 judges that we asked to come and be judges. And we ask people, certain ones that we don't know or don't have a personal relationship with any of the contestants, just to make it fair.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Now, how does somebody get registered? That was a question that I had earlier when we were talking about registration. Is there a website they go to? How do they reach out and get registered for something like this?
If they are on Facebook, they can certainly go on Facebook and find myself, Joanna Clark, or Alyssa Corson, and shoot us a message on there. If they don't do Facebook, they can certainly shoot me a text message or a phone call, and my number is 680-0137, and I can certainly get connected with Alyssa and answer any questions that they have.
Okay, so it's basically going to be reaching out to you personally or Alyssa.
Correct.
Personally.
Correct.
That's the way it's going to be done. Okay. Well, that's important to know. You don't happen to know Alyssa's number, so they could be...
I don't right off the top of my head.
just wondering.
But if I have my phone all the time, so if they text message me or call me, I may not answer, just leave me a message.
Right. Yeah, texting is always good, especially during the business day.
Correct.
When you're working, I'm sure. So that's important. Let's see. We're going to take a quick break right now, and then we're going to come back after the break and talk a little bit more.
Do you moo? Currently, the only way to listen to Albion's local radio station, The Moo, is by using the TuneIn radio app. The TuneIn radio app can be downloaded for free from either the App Store or the Play Store on your phone or tablet. Once you have the app, search for The Moo. After it appears, click on the heart emblem to make The Moo one of your favorites. Then, each time you open the app, it will automatically start playing The Moo. Here's one other tip. If the station keeps cutting out, go into the TuneIn radio app settings and make the buffering time longer. By doing that, you'll have a smoother, more enjoyable experience. Remember, The Moo is the only radio station that talks exclusively about life in Albion. So if you'd like to feel more connected to our community, listen to The Moo using the TuneIn radio app.
And we're back. And I am talking to Joanna Clark about the Queen's Contest. Since I am only been in Albion for about a decade, this is one of these things I actually don't know anything about because I have never had any kids of the age to be involved in something like that, and I've never actually attended a Queen's Contest, so I don't even know. Do you have any idea? And I know you said earlier that that you didn't grow up in Albion, but do you have any idea when this started?
I've actually been digging around to find that information, truthfully. What I've been told is it's believed to have been started back in the 1950s. And there may or may not have been a little bit of break of time where it didn't happen. But back in the 70s, my husband's aunt's daughter participated. And so I know it's been going on continuously, at least since the 70s.
I was fortunate enough to get a hold of a picture of the 1957 winner of the Queen's Contest, and that picture will be posted on the Moo Facebook page right before. So in July, I'm holding that one for July, a classic picture from the past, and then people can look and see, try to identify who the actual winner was and who the runner-up contestants are who are in the picture. And then there's the guy who's crowning the Queen. Nobody seems to know who that fella is. They think he might have been some celebrity from a radio station from somewhere who came out to do it. So I have that. So I at least know that it goes back to 1957. I don't know if it goes back any further than that.
Like I said, I was told it started in the 50s. I have no idea.
Okay, well.
I wasn't even thought of then.
Well, maybe we can get somebody who knows that history to let us know at some point between now and the Queen's Contest.
I've had a bug put in my ear that my husband has these scrapbooks, older scrapbooks that I might be able to help you with that with.
Oh, okay. That would be great. Very interesting. So we don't know exactly when it began. We think it began someday in the 50s, and it's been going on ever since, except for maybe some downtime here and there.
Correct.
I know that Leonard Dow told me that he was involved in actually organizing Field Day going back to like 1962. So I suspect since Field Day was consistent from that time right up to the present, that we might have at least had Queen's Contest during that time.
It actually was called the Albion Firemen's Field Day.
That's true.
We've changed it over to be a more community-orientated one, so it's now just Albion Field Days.
Right. And I'm actually going to talk to some people who are organizing that on another podcast, and we'll find out some of the specifics that are going to be going on there. So you mentioned the ages and the different things, whether it's doll carriage, whether it's queens, whether it's princess. You've talked about some of the things that they need to do. Do you have any recommendations for parents or grandparents who might be putting or helping a child of theirs to be involved, what they should be doing to help their child to be successful?
If it's a doll carriage contestant, the biggest thing that you can do is have them pull either the wagon or push a doll carriage, because that's what they're going to be decorating. And they're going to be pushing it around the gym in front of a lot of people. So if you can get them practicing pushing, kind of talking to them, letting them know there's going to be a lot of people there. Our biggest thing is the little ones. They are really, really cute, but they also like to stop because they get very nervous. We've had a couple break down in tears because it was just overwhelming. Right. If you can get them out to like a park and practice pulling around in front of like any public people you have, that would be the biggest thing for the doll carriage. As far as princess and queens, the biggest thing for them, again, would be the public speaking portion, because a lot of people, they get very nervous and they play with their hands, or they, play with their dress and twist it up or whatever. And they just need to work on being, just make eye contact, have them speak with an aunt or an uncle that they've not spoken to for a while. Or I know if they're on Facebook, they can do like FaceTiming. Just pretend that they're talking to someone who they don't know. so that they can get practice in not fiddling with their hands or having something in their hands. And another thing is we ask that they don't have notes in front of them, because we have found that if they have papers, they depend way too much on their paper, and they don't look up at the judges to make that eye contact. Those are the biggest things. Usually the talent portion doesn't go that bad because it's something they're passionate about. They've chosen what they want to do, whether it be singing, dancing, playing an instrument. We've had a science experiment. We've had a cooking lesson. We've had poetry read. The talent, you are unlimited to what you can do for a talent. If you feel it's a talent, talk to us. More than likely, we're not going to say, no, you can't do that.
So now when you talk about the portion where they have to speak to the judges, and I've seen both adults and kids do this, where they sort of hold their head down and mumble into their chest, which is, then nobody knows what they're saying. But what kinds of questions would be asked of them by the judges that they would have to answer?
Well, we don't normally ask questions. We let the girls bring up their own ideas. We kind of prompt them to be like, how old are you? How long have you been in Albion? Or again, that question's not going to be obsolete because we may be having people from out of Albion participating. Who your parents are? Do you have siblings? Do you have pets? What do you do for summertime activities? What sports are you involved in? Anything that's going to give the judge an eye on who they are and what makes up their personality.
Okay. So now when somebody registers for this and they come for rehearsals, is part of the registration, does that include getting a sheet with these sorts of ideas on it for them to pull together?
It will come with a sheet that they fill out as far as what their talent is, so that we can put it in the bulletin. We do ask that they write a few things down, interesting facts, so that we can give to our MC so they can get to know the child that they're speaking with a little better. So if they do falter, they can be questioned like, okay, what more? Like, what is your favorite animal or something like that. In the past, we haven't had the MC actually asking questions. We are thinking about adding this year, and we will be going over this in the rehearsals, 3 possible questions that may be drawn out of a hat, kind of to prompt them a little more, because we find that some of the girls are up there and they just quickly blurt out all about themselves, and then they're done. And the judges have, from critiquing last year, they have suggested to keep them up there a little bit longer and maybe prompt them with a surprise quote-unquote question. But these girls will know what those potential questions are ahead of time so they can prepare themselves a little bit.
Okay. I think that sounds good. It's a good idea to give them some structure and some guidelines so that they can be successful. That sounds great. So just before we end this again, let's run through a couple of the basics. The deadline for registering for this is what date?
Truthfully, the deadline is at our first rehearsal, which is the 11th, July 11th. That's the day we need to know exactly, because we have to order shirts and things like that.
Okay. So July 11th, which is the first rehearsal, is the absolute deadline for getting registered to participate in this. And so that gives a little bit of time. It's not like it's tomorrow.
Correct.
Or anything like that, but that gives you a little bit of time. And there's going to be how many rehearsals, did you say? And you got that one date. We don't need to give all the other dates because when they show up, they'll get a listing of all that stuff.
Correct. There's a total of 4, and you are allowed to miss 1.
Okay. So 4. And then the date of the contest itself is
July 26th.
July 26th, the last Thursday in July. And that, of course, is right before Field Day because it's all part of that week. So I think we've covered all of the basics. And maybe the one thing we need to give again is your telephone number so that if people don't do Facebook, they have a way to be in touch with you about this. So what is your phone number again? 680-0137. That's 680-0137.
Correct.
Okay. And your name is Joanna Clark. So if you're not going to call on the phone and you want to contact her by Facebook, then you need to look up her name, Joanna Clark. That's your page, right? Nothing
Correct.
else. Okay, so that's all you need to know to be able to get registered for that. And with that, I want to thank you, Joanna, for coming on Moot Point and talking about this. And hopefully, you'll have a really successful Queen's contest this year.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. So there you have it. Everything you need to know about the Queen's contest and the doll carriage parade. Now, there is just one detail that wasn't mentioned during my conversation with Joanna, and I want to make sure that I share that with you right now. The girls who are crowned Queen and Princess get to ride in a convertible in the field day parade. That's something fun that helps to make this whole experience last just a little bit longer. Well, that's it for this edition of Moot Point. I'm hoping I'll be back soon with more information about this year's field day.
You've been listening to Moot Point. Please take a moment to like us on Facebook, and we'll let you know when we have our next community conversation with someone who's doing something interesting here in Albion. Moot Point is a production of The Moo, home of the Albion Community Calendar and the Moo Country Music Stream at moo202.org.